Welcome to CED Mosebach's online video series. Today we're going to talk about an introduction to Integrated Architecture Builder. Okay, so when you first open up the software, this is what you're going to see. Just a splash screen right here to create a new project, open existing projects, about IAB, and as well as this Learn tab over here. So you can see this lab. There's a lab tab over here. There's a lot of useful labs that will walk you through certain things. So anything that we don't cover in this video, you can check this labs tab, and there may be something in there to help you out. But we're just going to click New Project, and we're going to leave everything default as far as the location. And then over here we have some generic workspaces that you can start with. We're going to get to a couple of these, but we're just going to do this one with hardware for now. We're going to replace the existing. And what it's going to do is what hardware? What hardware are we going to start with? We're going to do control logics, compact logics. We can do micro 800s, as well as any of the, we can add in any panel views of drives or third-party equipment. We're just going to go ahead and throw a control logics in here, and we're going to change the chassis size to a little bit bigger. And you can give it a different name up here if you'd like to, or choose conformally coded, the XT class, or the on-machine stuff as well. Click OK, and it gives us our blank chassis here to start with. So in this case, what we're doing is we're just building it manually using these menus down at the bottom, the device list menus. We're going to go ahead with an L8 processor, so we'll expand that and we'll choose one of our processors. All we have to do is click and drag it up into the chassis. And then we need to put let's say we need to put a communication module in here. We're going to have communication, and we're going to put in an EN2T. Just drag that in. And then let's go ahead and do some I/O modules. So down here we have analog, digital, and specialty. And we also would have some Encompass partners under each one of these as well. So if we were to want to put a couple of IF16s in here, we could just drag an IF16. And then instead of having to just keep dragging 4 or 5 of these, you can hold down the control button, click on the module you want to repeat, and then just while holding control, just click on the other spots and it'll just copy it right over. And then we'll just throw in a couple of digitals here. Same way. From here, under specialty is the old N2. You're probably going to need to know where that is. So also what we can do here is we can go up to configure chassis. As you can see on the right side here, it's keeping track of our power supply, how much of it we've used, how much is remaining. So if we were using a PA72, or if we had a large rack full of a lot of analogs, we may overload the PA75, and the software will tell us that over here. But under configure chassis is where we can make the chassis a little bigger, or change it, change our power supply. We can go to redundant power supplies. And under this advanced wiring options, we can go to the 1492 wiring systems as well. So if we do IO ready cable or wiring systems, we apply that, it'll fill out the part numbers for us of what the cables we needed to use are. And we hit OK on all that, and it shows our little IFM modules down here. And from here, if we wanted to, we could just go up to our bill of material and save our changes. What this will do is this is going to pop out a nice bill of material for us that we could save to an Excel file. You could either mail that off to your distributor, put it right into your proposal, whatever you need to do. We could do save to an XLS, and see, it gives you a nice bill of material including all the wiring arms that you need to do. So that's a pretty simple overhead or high-level example of how to do this manually. So now we'll move on to the next example. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our wizards. So down here along the bottom we have these menus for network, on-machine, hardware, architecture view. So we're going to click on the wizard view and have all these wizards across the top here. So we're going to get into a couple of these in this video. The one we're going to start with is just to show you how we can add the hardware like we just did with the control logics, but we're going to add some hardware with compact logics through the wizard. So we click on there and we just start answering some questions. What's our power supply voltage? We'll say 120. Usually in your spec you're going to have some sort of spare I/O, 10 or 20%, whatever it is, you can throw that in there. If you need a different network besides Ethernet, you can choose that. We're going to go with a freeform model. CPWE is the plant-wide Ethernet model. We're just going to go freeform on this just to make things a little easier. And we want to start with a new switch. We could choose a different switch, but we're just going to leave it at the default for right now. Click next. We start answering our I/O counts. How many I/O of each kind? And let's say we need 45 outputs. And if you have any relay outputs or DC outputs, we would add those in here. And analog. So let's do non-isolated 16 and 16. Well, we'll put a different weird number in there. 18. There we go. And if we had any motion, so let's say we have 2 axes of motion, we're going to use SIP motion for that. If we want to create any additional networks, we would do that here. Control net is one, at device net. We could add those in here, but we're just going to leave it at Ethernet IP. Click next. So what it's going to do is it's going to spit out this list. This is what it wants to use. So this is kind of your last chance to say, nah, you know what, I don't really like that L30 ERM. Let's bump it up to an L33 ERM. And they're going to use an AENTR in these modules, and we're okay with all of those. So from here, if you wanted to change the wiring method to the wiring system, you could do that as well. They don't have that for the compact. Not all of the modules, rather, for the compact, but most of them they do. So, and if you wanted to give it a different name, which we will, we do that here. And we hit finish. Alright, so would you want the distributed I/O to be controlled by the controlled by the new controller you just created, essentially? And we're going to say yes on this. Generally, what it's going to do is it's going to come in and ask you, do you want to create some more distributed I/O to be connected to that processor? I just wanted to show you what this looked like. This is the wizard for adding more I/O. You would go through and start answering similar questions, and over here on the right it would narrow down which platform you can fulfill your needs, and then you can choose which one you want to go with. But we're going to go ahead and skip that step, so we're going to click cancel and hit no on this. Now we go back to our hardware tab, and here's our control or compact logics that it created. You see that it filled out 2 banks of I/O and then an extra one to be able to fulfill our I/O requirements. But what it didn't do is it didn't break any rules or put a module in the wrong place, or we didn't undersize a power supply. It did everything for us. And so now again we have a bill of material that you can send. You could just send the IAB file to your distributor, or you could go ahead and send them the bill of material, and that can help them in quoting, turn around your quote a little quicker. One thing you'll also notice is this connection, the switch connection. It automatically created our network for us. So if we go to our network tab, you can see that it created the switch for us and the network to be able to handle our remote I/O. Now let's say that we wanted to put our original control logics on that same network. We go back to our hardware view, click on our control logics chassis, and then right click on our L80 controller, connect to an Ethernet IP. We're going to do this, and on our network and that switch, come back over to our network, and there's our control logics also connected to that. So we'll move on to another example and see what else we can do with this. Alright, so the next thing we're going to show you is something called the Project Design Assistant. And that's this little button right here under the wizard menu. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and click that. What this is you just put in your requirements. So let's unclick that. If you had redundancy, safety, whatever your requirements are for your system. If you need a ring, we'll just put that in there. Your AC digital inputs, AC digital outputs, analogs, RTDs, high-speed counters, anything, whatever your system requirements are, you just go ahead and put them all in here. Down here, if you have a couple operator interfaces, you say how many there are and of what kind. So you get to select the model number. So let's say we want to go down here. We'll leave those and leave that in there. If you have any SIP drives, we're going to leave them 5500s. Those small ones are fine. And anything else, you could just go ahead and throw it on here. And if you have any remote I/O, distributed I/O requirements, you can throw those in here too. And then we hit next, and it tells us the platforms that can handle your requirements. So these three ControlLogix are 5380 and the 5480. The 5480 is the brand new controller that has the Windows core on it. We're probably not going to use that. We're probably looking at 5380 and ControlLogix to be able to handle that amount of I/O. But what you can do is do a perform analysis, and what it's going to do is kind of give you the system performance and estimated price of each. And now this is list price, so obviously the 5380 is going to be the lowest cost to be able to handle this system. And we can do a preview, and it'll give us the bill of material. So let's say we're a customer, we're price conscious, we do this as affordably as we can. Let's go ahead and unselect the other two and generate hardware. Come back to our hardware, and here they are, believe it or not. It's all of these. So this is our entire system it built for us. And you come back over to networks, and you can see it created this whole other network for us on a ring, because that's what we selected, and nice and easy, and it'll be on our bill of material for us. So you can see that's a pretty powerful tool. If you don't know the platform you want to use, you can use that tool to kind of help you choose and see the cost savings you might get one over the other, or see if any of the compact systems can handle your system or not. Okay, so the next thing we want to show you is also under the Wizards tab. We're going to choose our PLC 5 migration, the 1771 migration. So a lot of you are running into PLC 5 obsolescence, and how do I replace that with what ControlLogix card to card? So this wizard can help you come up with the bill of material to do that and save us a ton of time. So let's go ahead and open it up. First thing you want to do is just add a chassis. If you want to view the video about the wiring, the conversion system, there's a nice video here that you can bring up and either show your customer or whoever you need to sell the system on, that it's a time saver. You can use this video. So we're in our chassis name. We'll just leave it at the default. Okay, so it brings up this screen, and we select our 1771 chassis, and then what we want to replace it with. And here we go. So from here now, so select our power supply first. Here's P7, we'll put a PA75 in there. So now what we want to do is, do we want to use the conversion kit, yes or no? If we hit no, it'll pop out just a normal ControlLogix modules and a bill of material without all of the conversion kit. If we give it a yes, it's going to give us everything we need to be able to use that conversion stuff and the wiring type. Obviously screw or clamp. So let's go ahead and start populating this. We're going to put an L40E in here. So it does let you choose, do you want to replace it with an L7 processor, or do you just want to make this a remote rack to another ControlLogix system now? You can see the L8s are not in here yet. They will be at some point, but just not right now. So we're just going to usually just go L7. It's pretty general replacement. And then we'll start putting our analog or our I/O modules in here. And anytime that these pop up, it means that there's two modules that could possibly be a replacement there. In general, obviously our IA16, not the IH, is going to go in there. And you can see at the bottom here, it's just populating the control objects while we're dragging over these modules. Just like that. So you can do that for whatever modules you have in here, and if there's anything that doesn't show up in this menu, there's probably no direct conversion for it. So either contact your distributor or local RA sales person, and they can help you out there about what needs to happen. So once we're finished, we'll just click OK. And if you wanted to add another chassis, or you could do that here, but we're just going to go ahead and generate the hardware. And if you wanted to come back and edit that, it does show up here under the migration wizard. So if we wanted to bring that chassis back up and edit it, we could do that here. We're going to cancel that and then go back to our hardware view. And here is our control objects chassis. Now from here we can add extra cards that we know we have to add, make any adjustments, add it, put an Ethernet module in to add it to our Ethernet network, fill these all in with N2s, whatever you need to do, and then add them to your bill of material. And then when we do bring up our bill of material, just wanted to show you this one last thing with this tool. Is that when it does the conversion for you, can see here's our mounting assembly and our conversion cables and the conversion modules to handle that 1771 to 1756. So you don't have to go looking through manuals and things to find these part numbers. They just pop right out for you. It's really easy. So that's the 1771 conversion tool. So now that we think we're done with our system, we've got our networks laid out, just do a couple extra checks. There's these two buttons up here, the Project Completeness Wizard and the Advanced Communication Detail. So the Project Completeness Wizard, if we click on that, it's going to tell us about any warnings or errors that maybe we missed or neglected. The first one it's going to say is our CYA. So the CYA wizard helps you put in push buttons, starters, things like that, auxiliary IC components that maybe you want to go ahead and add to your bill of material now. The control power and field power wizard are just that. I can give you an example of that. They're up here at the top as well. If we do the control power wizard, it's telling us these devices here need 24 volt control power. So what we can do is come down our list and pick a power supply and add it, and then while it's highlighted over here, select what devices we want to add to it, and it'll tell us as it fills up how much of that power supply we're using, so we know if we're safe. And see, now it's in the red, we're up over 70%. Maybe we want to try to delete this power supply and go to something bigger. But that's an example of the control power wizard. And see, and then when we bring this up now, it's happy we went through the control power wizard. So if you want to do that, you can, and that can help you pick your power supplies, so that you're not just guessing or oversizing. Or if you already know what power supply you're using, you don't have to do that. It'll still let you complete the project here. The next button is the Advanced Communication Details, and this one's very useful. So what this one's doing is it comes in and tells you on each chassis what the controller it's assigned to and what the default RPI is for that I/O over the network or that device over the network. You can change these RPIs if you feel that you're going to need a faster RPI for performance. You can do that. If it's safety, you can. We don't have any safety in this. The safety RPI would be a bit faster, around 10 milliseconds. You can come across, and our HMI devices are put in here, and it'll say how many connections they're taking. And then if you know how many tags, if you wanted to just estimate how many tags you're going to have in your system, you could just throw some values in here, and this is going to help this checker kind of tell you if your processor is going to be able to handle this system or not. Produce consume tags, if we have any of those. Motion, we do have a couple, so you can adjust your update rates here. And then logic, for each controller you can add tasks and kind of estimate, okay, at a 25 millisecond periodic, how many rungs am I going to have in there for this controller and this controller, and we'll put a couple in for this one. And any errors or warnings, we have nothing. But then this last one, this results page, this one's real important. This is going to tell us for each controller, first off, right at the top here, our Ethernet nodes, how many we've used and how many are remaining. So that would be a yellow or something, or yellow or red if we're getting close to using that up. Based on the amount of rungs we put in, it's going to try to estimate our rung capacity and our comms utilization and the Logix controller utilization. You can see this guy's up to 36% of this controller. And then if we keep scrolling down, it'll start telling us about our network. So these are all of our embedded NIC cards that are in our devices, such as the I/O adapters and whatnot. And it's telling us, you know, how many I/O packets per second, the SIP connections, and then at the bottom it's going to tell us our network utilization. So you can see with these systems we built here, we're in the green all over the place. We have no issues whatsoever. So we'd be able to go ahead and go and build this system with confidence, knowing that we don't have any issues with our network. If you are building a plant PAX system, there is a tool in here for doing that. But that is a complete other topic, and you should actually contact your distributor to have somebody come out and talk to you about that, because that is a certified system that we do have to talk one-on-one about how to build that. But this is a nice starter for you to build your system and know that your network is secure and you're ready to go, and you can go ahead and build your system and give you your bill of material. So any questions, let us know, and we'll be glad to come out and talk to you. Once again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out future and current videos by subscribing to CED Mosebach Electric Supply on YouTube or visiting www.mosebach.com/media. Thanks again.